They believe fighting is about brute force, who hits harder, who moves faster. But they miss the essence. I never fought with just my body. I fought with my mind. Before my opponent even threw a punch, I was already inside their head, planting doubt, forcing hesitation. A fight isn't won with strength or speed. It's won long before the first strike, in the unseen battlefield of the mind. A fight doesn't start when fists fly. It starts in the mind, long before the first move is made. A man can take hit after hit and still stand if his mind is strong. But if doubt creeps in, if fear takes hold, he's already defeated. The body follows where the mind leads. Most people think victory comes from power, speed, or skill. But these are just tools. The real fight happens in the mind. The greatest opponent isn't the one in front of you, it's the one inside your head. I never had to overpower anyone physically. I made them defeat themselves. I let them think, let them doubt, let them question their readiness, their training, their chances. Once that seed of doubt was planted, it grew like poison. The secret: stillness, unreadability. When an opponent sees anger, they expect aggression. When they see tension, they expect an attack. But when they see nothing, no fear, no hesitation, no emotion, they don't know what to expect. And that alone puts them on edge. I could see it in their eyes, the fidgeting, the searching for a sign, anything to hold on to. But I gave them nothing. I made them fill in the blanks, and their own imagination did more damage than I ever could. A man swings wildly when he's desperate, moves too soon when he's nervous, hesitates when he's unsure. These mistakes all come from one thing: fear. And fear doesn't come from the fight, it comes from the mind. Fear is a shadow that grows in uncertainty. The moment someone wonders, what if I lose? What if he's faster? What if he knows something I don't? They've already lost. I never let my mind enter that space. I never let doubt touch me. Fear is a choice, and so is confidence. I walked into every battle with certainty, not because I knew I'd win, but because I never allowed the thought of losing to exist in my mind. When you carry this energy, others feel it. They sense the difference. They see someone who has already decided they cannot be broken, and that, more than any punch, will break them first. A strong mind can overcome anything. But a weak mind? It falls before the fight even begins. Most people think fighting is about physical strength. They train their bodies endlessly, lifting, running, punching. But what happens when they face someone who doesn't flinch, who doesn't react to their intimidation? Suddenly, all that strength feels small. All that training feels useless. That's how you win before the fight even starts, not by attacking the body, but by attacking the ego. Every man wants to believe he's strong, in control. He carries his confidence like a shield. But that shield has cracks. If you know where to press, it will shatter. I always tested my opponents before throwing a strike. I watched how they carried themselves, how they spoke, how they reacted to the smallest things. A simple comment like, "You look tense. Are you sure you're ready for this?" could reveal everything. A strong man wouldn't need to prove anything. But a man controlled by his ego, he'd react, overcommit, and open himself up for the real attack. This isn't just about fighting, it's about life. The world is filled with people who live through their ego. They argue to prove they're right, chase validation, and get angry when challenged. And because of that, they're easy to manipulate. You see it everywhere in business, relationships, daily interactions. The moment someone feels the need to prove themselves, they stop thinking clearly. They start reacting instead of acting. That's when you stay calm, stay silent, and let them destroy themselves with their own emotions. Power doesn't come from being the loudest in the room. It comes from being the most centered, the one who doesn't flinch, who doesn't need to prove anything. I never wasted time with foolish arguments. I never let my emotions be controlled by someone else's words. When people tried to provoke me, I stayed still. I let them burn themselves out. And when the time came, I struck, not just with my fists, but with my clarity, my ability to see through their weakness. A man controlled by his ego is a man controlled by others. But a man who controls his own mind, he's unstoppable. Most people think power is about movement, fast strikes, quick reactions, constant action. But real power is found in stillness. Not in rushing forward, not in flinching at every threat, but in remaining completely unshaken. When I stepped into a fight, I didn't just prepare my body, I prepared my presence. I stood calm, still, completely at ease. I watched, I breathed, I gave nothing away. And in that silence, I could feel my opponent's discomfort. People expect action, tension, nervous energy. But when they see someone standing before them without fear, without hesitation, without a single wasted movement, it unsettles them. Stillness isn't weakness, it's control. Most fighters waste energy before the fight even begins. They bounce on their feet, shift their weight, throw meaningless punches in the air just to look intimidating. But what are they really doing? They're trying to convince themselves they're ready. They're filling the space with movement because they fear what happens when they stop. But I had no fear of stillness. I embraced it. When you're still, you can see everything, every breath, every twitch, every micro movement in your opponent's stance that reveals what they'll do next. While they're busy thinking about their next move, I'm already reading them like a book. I once faced a man who was faster and stronger than me. But he had one weakness: impatience. He needed movement, needed to feel in control. So I did the opposite. I gave him nothing to react to. I stood there, silent, still, unreadable. Seconds felt like hours. I could see the frustration in his eyes. He wanted me to make the first move, wanted something, anything to break the tension. But I gave him nothing. And then, when I saw it, the slightest shift in his balance, the smallest flicker of doubt, I moved. One strike, one perfectly timed attack, and the fight was over. This is the power of stillness. It's the same in life. People rush through their days, always moving, always reacting. They fill every quiet moment with noise, every pause with distraction. But in doing so, they lose control. They let the world dictate their actions instead of choosing them with purpose. But the one who is still, the one who doesn't rush, he sees everything. He hears what others miss. He understands what others overlook. A man who is still is a man who is patient. And patience is the greatest weapon of all. A tiger doesn't chase its prey wildly. It waits, it watches, it moves only when the moment is right. This is what I trained myself to be: not a reckless fighter, not a man who moves just for the sake of moving, but a force of nature, calm, silent, unstoppable. Most people will never understand this power. They'll mistake stillness for weakness, for hesitation, for inaction. But in truth, it's the ultimate strength, because the one who moves the least controls the most. Most people believe fights are about strength, about who punches harder, who kicks faster. But that's an illusion. Fights, whether in the ring or in life, are won by the one who controls the tempo. Timing is everything. If you control the rhythm of the fight, you control your opponent. If you control your opponent, you control the outcome. I never fought at someone else's pace. I made them fight at mine. I slowed down when they wanted speed, sped up when they wanted a pause. I disrupted their natural flow. And once they were off balance physically and mentally, the fight was already mine. I watched their breathing, listened to the rhythm of their movement. If they breathed fast, I moved slow, making them overextend. If they wanted a break, I attacked, never letting them rest. Most fighters follow a pattern: jab, jab, cross, step back, reset. Their movements are predictable, their timing familiar. But I was never predictable. I moved like a wave, smooth, flowing, unpredictable. I would give nothing, then explode. I would be still, then strike like lightning. This kept my opponent in a state of confusion, never knowing when the real attack was coming. I once fought a man who was bigger, stronger, and more aggressive. He charged in, throwing wild punches, trying to overwhelm me. But I didn't meet his force with force. I slowed down. I let him burn his energy while I stayed calm. He wanted speed, so I gave him patience. He wanted a fast fight, so I gave him a slow one. He didn't realize it, but he was fighting my fight. And once his energy was gone, once his frustration had built up, I finished it in a single strike. Controlling the tempo isn't just about fighting, it's about life. Life moves fast. People rush from one thing to the next, never stopping, never thinking. But those who move without awareness are easy to manipulate. They're predictable, just like a careless fighter. They react to the world instead of controlling their own rhythm. But if you control the tempo of your own life, you're untouchable. You choose when to move, when to rest, when to strike. The ones who panic, who rush, who react emotionally, they lose control. But the one who can slow things down, who can speed things up at will, he is always in command. A fight is like music. If you always move to the other person's rhythm, they're leading the dance. But if you disrupt the rhythm, if you create your own beat, then they're forced to follow you. This is the secret of true power. It's not about how hard you hit. It's about when you hit. It's not about how fast you move. It's about when you move. Most people let their emotions dictate their speed. If they're angry, they rush. If they're nervous, they hesitate. But I trained myself to never let my emotions control my rhythm. When I needed to be still, I was still. When I needed to explode, I exploded. But I never moved out of fear, never attacked out of frustration. Every move was chosen, every step deliberate. And when you master this, you don't just win fights. You win in everything. The one who controls the tempo controls the outcome. The one who controls the outcome never loses. I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. Power isn't just in the body or the mind. It's in presence, the invisible force that surrounds you before you even say a word. Most people don't understand this. They think dominance comes from how loud they speak, how aggressive they act, how much they show off their strength. But that's not power. That's insecurity wrapped in noise. Real power is quiet. It doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't beg for attention. It's simply felt. When I walked into a room, I didn't need to raise my voice. I didn't need to prove anything. My energy did the speaking for me. And when you carry that kind of presence, people respect you. Not because you demand it, but because they sense something different about you. A fearless presence isn't about looking intimidating. It's not about puffing out your chest or staring people down. It's about absolute certainty. Certainty in yourself, in your ability, in your unshakable nature. You don't gain this presence by pretending. You gain it by becoming. I trained myself to eliminate fear, not just in my movements, but in my mind. I didn't allow doubt to enter my thoughts. I didn't allow hesitation to shape my actions. And because of that, people could feel that I wasn't someone to be moved. This is the key. People react to the energy you give off. If you walk into a room looking nervous, unsure, uncomfortable, others will sense it. And in sensing it, they'll treat you accordingly. They'll test you, challenge you. But when you walk in with absolute belief in yourself, something changes. People don't challenge you because they don't feel the need to. They don't question you because they already feel the answer in your presence. This applies to fighting, to business, to relationships, to every part of life. I've seen men with great skill but no presence. They crumble under pressure because their mind is weak. And I've seen men who don't speak a word, yet they command the room simply by existing in it. What makes the difference? Stillness, control, intention. When I fought, I didn't fidget. I didn't waste my movements. I didn't let my emotions control me. Everything I did was calculated, efficient, powerful. And because I carried myself that way, my opponents felt it before the fight even began. I remember a time when a man challenged me. He was bigger, stronger, more aggressive. He wanted to prove himself, but I didn't react. I stood there, calm, silent, watching. And in that moment, I saw it, his doubt. He wanted me to react, to engage, to show some kind of fear. But I gave him nothing, and that nothingness was more terrifying than anything I could have said. That's the secret of fearless presence. It's not about forcing yourself onto others. It's about being so centered, so certain, so unshakable, that the world bends to you instead of the other way around. You don't need to be the biggest, the fastest, or the loudest. You only need to be sure. Sure in who you are. Sure in what you can do. Sure in the fact that nothing can move you unless you allow it to. This kind of presence is rare. That's why it's powerful. People spend their lives trying to prove themselves. They waste energy chasing validation, trying to impress others, trying to make the world see them as something great. But the truth is, greatness isn't something you show. It's something you are. And when you are something, you don't need to prove it. The world will already know. A fight begins long before the first move. It begins the moment two people lock eyes. In that brief instant, something is exchanged. Power, fear, confidence, or doubt. And once it's exchanged, the fight has already begun. Most people don't realize how much is said in silence. They focus on words, on actions, on physical strength. But the strongest weapon in a fight is the mind. And the most direct way to reach someone's mind is through their eyes. I never looked away first. When I stared into an opponent's eyes, I wasn't just looking, I was searching. I was reading them. I was feeling their energy, their emotions, their fears. And at the same time, I was making them feel something they couldn't control. A true warrior doesn't blink under pressure. He doesn't look down. He doesn't shift uncomfortably. He holds his ground. Not just physically, but mentally. Most people can't handle direct eye contact. It exposes them. It forces them to face what they try to hide. In life, you can fake confidence with words, with posture, with a loud voice. But the eyes, they never lie. That's why I trained my stare like a weapon. It wasn't about aggression or intimidation. It was about control. When I looked into an opponent's eyes, I was letting them know that I saw everything, every weakness, every hesitation, every crack in their confidence. And when they felt that, they broke before I ever touched them. There's a moment right before a fight begins where two people stand face to face. No movement, no words, just presence. It's in that moment that the real battle happens. I've seen it countless times. Fighters who are physically prepared, strong, fast, ready. But when they meet my gaze, something shifts. A hesitation, a flicker of doubt, a subconscious glance away. And in that single moment, they lose. A fight isn't won with fists. It's won with belief. And when a man looks away first, even for a second, it's proof that some part of him doesn't believe in his own victory. That's why I never looked away. Because I never allowed doubt to exist within me. This isn't just for fighting. It's for life. How you look at people tells them everything about you. Walk into a room with your eyes down, with uncertainty in your gaze, and people will know you're not sure of yourself. They'll sense it. They'll treat you accordingly. But when you meet people's eyes with clarity, with confidence, with stillness, they feel it. They recognize that you're different, that you're in control. I never needed to intimidate people. I never needed to prove my strength with words. All I needed to do was see them. And in doing so, they saw something in me, something unshakable, something beyond fear, something they couldn't break. This is the power of eye contact. It's not about staring someone down. It's about showing them, without words, that you're not someone who wavers, that you don't hesitate, that you don't fear them. And once they feel that, they'll fear you. Most people believe that power comes from tension, from force, from trying harder. They clench their fists, tighten their muscles, prepare themselves for battle with stiffness and effort. But real power isn't built on tension. It's built on relaxation. A snake doesn't waste energy moving unless it's ready to strike. A tiger doesn't chase aimlessly. It waits, still and calm, until the perfect moment arrives. Then, in an instant, it explodes with devastating speed and precision. This is the secret of a sudden explosion. Most fighters move too much. They bounce, they shift, they make unnecessary motions, thinking they're building momentum. But in reality,